We may live over 5,000 miles from Leakin Financial Field, but what we lack in proximity, we make up for in film study. And each and every week, we'll be bringing you in-depth film breakdowns from across the pond and the Sooner State. Welcome to On the Shane Page. I'm your host, Shane Haff. You can give me a follow on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL. I'm joined, as always, by BGN's own film guru, Jonny Page. Give him a follow on Twitter at JohnnyPage9. Jonny, Merry Christmas. How are you doing, man?
Yes, Merry Christmas Eve. A couple of Merry Christmases in the chat already. Good vibes. First Christmas as a dad, so it feels like Christmas is back on the agenda for a few more years now after it's sort of going away. So yeah, with it being Christmas Eve, and anyone who's got kids will know how busy it is. We're going to do a little bit of a shorter show today. Although I must admit, I'm not sure if the shorter show is because of Christmas or because this game was sort of rubbish. Yeah, Washington are not very good this year, are they? They're really not very good. What's funny is they're the exact team that everyone said they weren't going to be good before the season. Like every smart film guy and was all like, they sort of like build it this horrendous roster. And then the games begin. It's like, oh yeah, it's still really bad. They're not very good. So I don't know how much you can take away from some of this performance. But yeah, it was good to see the Eagles win. I think the Eagles were actually really good. I think the scoreline was a bit fluky because of the fumble from Will Shipley. Good for my brand, bad for the Eagles. And then I think special teams, obviously Jake Elliott, which we don't really talk special teams because who cares? I feel like one of those things that's just very boring to break down. But I think
there's not much you can say watching All-22 of a kicker missing 3 field goals and being like, this is what happened.
Yeah. So I feel like the Eagles were pretty dominant, actually, and the score was like a little bit harsh on the Eagles, who really battered them when you look at most of the numbers. But yeah, so should we... People are already talking about empty. There you go. It's already getting to it. Brother Clips. Yeah, it was incredibly noticeable. And again, I know you're going to talk about it at the start, but I might pour some caution on empty just because the way Washington opened the game was... You'll notice I always call them Washington, by the way. I refuse to call them Commanders. In anything I write as well, you'll just see Washington. I can't call it a professional team, the Commanders. So it will be Washington for me for the rest of the pod.
Yeah, this was the empty game, and I had several people tagging me on Twitter about the Eagles running so much empty. And all I want to say is, I told you, empty is so good for this team. But that I will mention, however, that Washington was just incredibly stupid in this game. The Eagles came out in that second drive in 11 personnel, which again, 1 running back, 1 tight end, so that means 3 wide receivers, and Washington was in base. They didn't go to nickel with a 3rd cornerback, and so the Eagles just no-huddled down the field and empty and kept them spread out. And that's just, I don't understand how you can be a defensive head coach and just not, basically match personnel. And this isn't last year where the Eagles are running for 200 yards a game, and so that was a choice you made. It was just stupid. I don't understand why they did that, but, I mean... So while I do think empty is fantastic and the Eagles should use it more, I also just think Washington was behaving really stupidly in this game as well. And so it's good for my brand. I don't think empty will be that effective every game that they play, but I do think it's one of the best things the Eagles do. And I would really like to see the Eagles just make it a point. Hurts looks so decisive out of empty.
Yeah.
I would love for the Eagles every game to just come out and empty and go tempo on the first drive and get Hurts, get him to the line with time to check, get him processing things, simplify everything, get him in a rhythm, and then from there build out into whatever. Because, you can't run empty 40 snaps a game, but you could come out and tempo at your first drive every game, and I think you could get Hurts in this offense in a bit of a rhythm. So it's something I would definitely like to see moving forward.
Yeah, I think, and by the way, you started talking about offense there, Shane, before I even had time to officially start talking offense. So we'll roll straight into the offense. Might even set a timer and be like, right, 10 minutes.
You told me you had to be fast. I was just jumping into it.
I'm going to set, by quarter past. So I had a good comment on my Bleeding Green article saying, if it's so good, why doesn't everyone do it? And it's a very fair comment. And someone said, what are the downsides of it? So to play, the other side of the coin, and I love it. And firstly, and there's been so much chat about quarterback play of late. I loved Honest NFL put out a tweet yesterday, like, do what's good for your QB. That's what good coaches do. Some quarterbacks like empty, some quarterbacks don't. For some quarterbacks, they hate the idea there's no running back. Obviously, this is a very obvious point, so apologies for being very obvious. You can't run any play action. And play action is possibly the number one cheat code of the passing game in the modern NFL. So some teams won't run empty because there's no threat of run. However, if you have a running quarterback who likes the field spaced out, again, not everyone does. Some guys like it condensed. Some guys want tight window throws. They want middle of the field, like more, because empty's quite spaced out. You've quite a lot of like far out hash throws, don't you? Like deep outs, deep curls and stuff. Even empty in this game, if you look at where the ball was going, it was quite often going quite wide. So every quarterback's different, which is why, and I put this in my film review, the Eagles, I think, and I want to talk a little bit briefly about their like idea of the fact it was so different to last week. I think it's fair to say that the Eagles' identity isn't going to be 50% under center, but it was never going to be after last week as well. Last week felt like this is a game for under center. This week felt like we can just run shotgun inside zone and kill them. And we can run empty and kill them. And for me, and I said this exactly, the offense may not have a single identity, but they were responsive to the defense that they faced. And that's different to where they were at times this year, where they were like, right, we're throwing vertical balls to A.J. Brown, we're throwing vertical balls to Devontae Smith. This is how we're going to play, and we're not going to change. To me, it felt like they did it this week because it worked this week. And actually, they only went under center 8 times. But in those 8 times, 4 runs, 4 passes, which is a much better balance. Saquon had the big run from under center. I know it was poorly blocked, but we'll ignore that for narrative. Tank Bigsby's run was very good from under center, and Hurts looked really good throwing from under center. Had a couple of nice throws. They were easy throws, easy completions. So I'm all on board with like under center, empty, bang, there's like a lot of your offense. And I think the offense is finally getting into a rhythm. And I think what empty does as well, and I put this in the film review, is that I think where Hurts likes it, if you start with it at the start of the game, it gets him in the rhythm. And I think Hurts is absolutely a rhythm quarterback. And I think it's not a criticism. I mean, it is a criticism, maybe. I don't think he's someone who has like 3 bad drives and then just turns it on. I think he's someone that when he starts well, normally stays really good. So I feel like running empty at the start of games, getting them in a rhythm, and again, not every team can do this. If you don't have a runner, you can't do this. If you don't have a QB that can play without play action, it's normally very much like pick a side empty, isn't it? So pre-snap, pick a side, and that's the side you go to. And again, for some quarterbacks, you might not want to do that. If you've got Dak Prescott, you might not want him to pick a side because you might think he's so good at getting to his third and full read. You don't have to. You don't want to limit your quarterback in that sense. So everything's got a positive and negative to it. Every scheme in the NFL does. It's about finding what fits your QB. And I just don't see how they haven't run it more this year. And maybe they're finally going to lean into it.
Yeah, and to be clear, they have run it at one of the higher rates in the league this year, but I still would be running it more. And just to talk a little more, some of the negatives of empty, because you mentioned that. It also makes pass protection a lot harder. You don't have the ability to keep a running back in to pass protect. And so, I mean, if you think back to 2023, when the Eagles just could not handle the blitz and they played the Bucs, they went empty a lot. And the Bucs just put 6 guys on the line of scrimmage and said you only have 5 blockers, and the Eagles had no answers. Now, they have answers now, but going in empty makes it a lot easier for a defense to make your quarterback be hot. And so the potential to be hot more, it makes your pass protection more difficult, but I don't think those are huge things because Hurts is good throwing hot now that they have answers to that installed, and he's mobile, and so it spreads things out. It gives him the ability to run, and so that's why not every team runs empty. But it's why the Eagles thrive on it, because it can spread the field, it gets their receivers in advantageous situations, and honestly, a lot of it too, I think, is they get A.J. Brown in the slot frequently out of empty, which is something I wish they would do a little bit more too. So, this game was a little bit of a fever dream for me because I've been pounding the table for empty for a long time, and they just spammed it early in this game. I mean, that second drive when they did it, they no-huddled 4 straight plays. It should have been a 4-play touchdown drive if Devontae Smith brings in that touchdown pass. Now, they end up scoring a few plays later. It wasn't from empty, so it's not good for my brand and my narratives. But like, they legitimately marched the length of the field and put the ball in the hands of one of the most sure-handed receivers in the NFL in the end zone in 4 plays. And it's just really powerful when you catch defenses in the right look and you've got the... And honestly, too, the first play that they ran empty and they caught Washington in a look that was good for them, they no-huddled, they ran the exact same play. Like, they ran the same play 2 times in a row.
The menu doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah, there are limited options of concepts and things from empty. Like, you do limit what you can do a bit. They just ran the same. They just literally no-huddled and ran the exact same play. And they threw it to a different spot, but it still worked because they were in a good look.
Yeah, just quickly, Shane, before we finish up the empty, do you want to show, I don't know if you've got a film thread, I've got on my film thread the first 3 plays are empty. We talk about sequencing, and I think sometimes sequencing for fans means, we run, I don't know, pick a play, we run crack toss, and then 3 plays later, we fake a crack toss and run it the other way. That's sequencing. Sequencing could be like this as well. So first play, and if you just roll through them very quickly, what a lot of teams will do against empty is if you pause it like here, they will go too high because there's no threat of run. So why would you play single high and bring a safety down? And then you essentially play 1 over each side. So you're 4 over 3, you're 3 over 2. So in this situation, they catch Luvu sort of napping, so they complete it. And as you said, very next play, they run it again. This time on this play, because Washington adjusts. And I'll show you what I really liked. Then on the second play, Washington adjusts. This time, he gets wider. So now where is the space to run? So Hurts scrambles because, again, this is where the benefit is against too high. And people moan about no options in the middle of the field. This is where it can help you. I also like empty, by the way, because Hurts gets down early. I don't think there's a threat of being hit. I talk all the time. People get way too caught up about carries of quarterback. Not all carries are equal. Like, I'm a fan of QB counter bash, but quite often you get hit on that concept. Like, I admit that. You're running into defenders. That's the point of it. Running from empty is very rarely you take a big hit. But then what I really liked was on the Devontae Smith one, if you've got that one next, and then we'll move on from empty or we'll spend the whole 10 minutes on offense. Sorry, the one after. So this is very similar concept, isn't it? Here we go. So now what Washington does is they adjust because, right, we're sick of getting done in the middle. So what do? You get eyes on the quarterback. So we'll go single high. Why do we go single high? Because we can leave linebackers basically staring at Hurts. Well, Hurts reads this instantly. This is such an easy read. He now knows he's essentially 2 over 2. He can see a single high safety. The second you get single high safety, slot fade. So much talk about like all pure progression and stuff of late. And for a lot of QBs in the modern game, you read the safety, middle field close, middle field open, and then you go from there. You don't need to get too complicated about these things sometimes. We talk about defining reads for a QB. This is a defined read for Hurts. It's making it easy for him, and that doesn't mean he's not good. Every coaching staff should be making the game easy for their QB. That is the goal.
And you know why they have all this space? Because A.J. Brown is lined up in the slot. And so we've got a safety over the top of him because that's the guy you expect. Like, I mean, and you could run all kinds of stuff off of this too, like slant wheels, or I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you could run to also throw this to A.J. Brown. If they defend it in a way that takes away the Devontae Smith route. So it's so you can be so versatile out of empty.
Going back to it, before we move on to maybe a good question here from Breaded Lips before I get to this in a second. One thing as well is like I've been watching loads of the Bills of late, and the Bills have 2 really good blocking tight ends. Is it Jackson Hawes? What's his name? Is it Hawes? Dawson Knox. So for the Bills, they may not want to go empty. And by the way, they do use empty. It's just a bad example. But I'm giving a different example of a team. Maybe they've got 3 really good tight ends. They want condensed looks. They want 8-man fronts because they want to run. Every team has to play to their talent level. And for me, the Eagles are better when they are spread out. Breaded Lips asked a very important question. We'll do a few minutes on the offense in terms of the shotgun game. They used it a lot in this game. The biggest thing about this game, and it is huge going forward, is the Eagles completely and utterly binned outside zone. They just said no more. Like, done. Outside zone's not happening anymore. I don't think they ran a snap of it. And they hammered inside zone. And it could be because Washington runs defense is crap, and it could be that this is not going to change anything long term, but they had success running inside zone. They got push up front. They had some double teams that worked. And if that works, Shane, if you have empty that's looking good, you can run some under center duo, you can run some play action, and you can run inside zone. This offense, I said in a Discord a couple of weeks ago on Patreon, I said my hot take was I think they're going to fix it. They might fix it. If Saquon Barkley can pick up 5 or 6 yards of carry from inside zone from the shotgun, you open up all of your backside bubble screens, your backside slants. You open up a lot more single high, which means you're going to be able to take those vertical shots. Like, I don't want to say the offense is fixed, and it's really hard analyzing this Eagles team because they've played so many bad defenses of late, which makes it really tough for us as analysts. But I will say the signs are promising. This isn't, I don't think it's 2023. 2023, they had the most obvious weakness against a blitz, and they could do nothing to fix it. So it was the most obvious game ever going against the Bucs. I don't think it's anywhere near as predictable this year. It doesn't mean they'll be good enough. It doesn't mean they'll be great. It doesn't mean Grant Calcaterra is still not on the field for too many snaps and they're not run blocking when he's on the field 90% of the time. It's not perfect, but maybe they're going to get there. Maybe they're going to get there this year. I feel a lot more optimistic than I did a month ago. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Two other things I want to point out offensively quickly. One is, if you guys have watched us for very long, you know the Eagles have a concept that they just spammed in the past called crash, which is where you've got A.J. Brown outside on like this in route and Dallas Goedert inside, and he runs this out route, and teams have been sitting on that. And so they have switched that up a little bit now where they'll run like a levels concept where Dallas Goedert breaks in instead of out. But I just want you to watch this play. Watch how this safety reacts to this look. This is still one that's really just predictable. So watch the safety just dive downhill. Like they know, tell me they don't know exactly what's coming here on this play. And so, you know, sure, like Goddard could break inside here, but you know, Goddard against the safety, you know, it's not like he's going to run away from that. I would really like to see the Eagles out of this look start putting AJ and Devontae on the same side. So at least, like, if you're going to overplay this AJ Brown thing, you can still threaten like this slot fade to Devontae Smith. So that's something I would like to see them do change-up wise, because there were several times in this game that they were sitting on those routes from A.J. Brown. I mean, there was another one near the first half where they ran the dig route, and it's sort of the same little wrap-in concept that they've been running a ton, except there's the third guy that goes to the flat. And again, just watch this defensive back just sit on this route. And so teams are on to like the A.J. Brown out wide dig routes. They're on to the crash concepts. I'd like to see a little bit of a change up off of that, because I do think you could start to get teams with that. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out, and you talked about this too, but the impact of Hurts in the run game.
Massive.
Even if you're not designing a lot of runs for him. And that's the great thing. Like you talked about QB counter bash, you're probably going to take hits, and I'm fine with that, but maybe they're not. And, you know, read options. Will be
in the playoffs.
Read options. We've seen him so many times slide down for a 1-yard loss and things like that. But when you get in empty and you open him up as a scrambler, it makes teams think about it. And then you get a play like this. I just want you to watch the impact, the magnitude of Jalen Hurts in the run game here.
Yeah, this play's hilarious. I know.
Hurts does not have the ball. And 1, 2, 3, maybe you could say 4 guys, but we'll say for sure these 3 guys are playing Jalen Hurts. Like, you don't have to block them. Like they've literally got Fred Johnson like looking the wrong direction now, because that's how much this is opened up by Hurts keeping the ball. By the way, what a ridiculous run by Saquon. But cutting Hurts loose as a runner, and this is why you're never going to be under center a ton. Like, you're never going to be a 70% under center team with a mobile quarterback, because you can do this too. Like, there's just so many things that you can do and add together. So I just wanted to shout out those 2 things. One changeup I'd like to see, and this is like the clearest example you'll ever have of the quarterback's influence in the run game.
Yep, I will. Anything else you wanted to say on offense? I've got 2 final points, and then and then we'll call it.
Nope, take it away.
So I would say, firstly, I think, and I'll be as quick as I can, and now I've forgotten my second point, but the first thing I was going to say was we don't give Hurts enough credit for how good pre-snap he is these days. I think, yeah, and by the way, sorry, I'm reading Brett Lips's comment. Yeah, Jalen's not great at selling fakes. I don't think he's great at play-action fakes anyway. Run fakes a little bit different. I think play-action fakes, he's average. I think, yeah, we don't give Hurts enough credit for how good he is pre-snap these days. There was barely a play in this game where I feel like he didn't know where he was going with the football. And I just wanted to mention it because sometimes we take it for granted. Similar to his ball placement, we take for granted. I've been watching a lot of Bills this week, and Josh Allen's obviously upside is through the roof. But I'm telling you, he has snaps that are appallingly bad. And he might be the best QB in the league, if not top 3, top 5. And he has snaps that are terrible. The consistency with which he plays is almost huge. And I said, I think the rhythm he got into was really, really good. We've mentioned the under-center run game. The other thing in general is I still think the concepts were broader this week. I think we still saw more flood. I think we still saw more 4 strong. I think there was more concepts that I liked. I've got 2 quick things to end. Last thing I'll say as well was 2 of Barkley's big runs came from jumbo personnel. Tank Bisbee's touchdown came from jumbo personnel. Maybe that's a sign again. They're figuring things out. They're bidding the third tight end. And when Lane Johnson comes back, you've then got Matt Pryor and Fred Johnson, who you can use as your 6th offensive lineman. And completely lastly, but not least, I keep seeing comments online about the interior of the offensive line. And I don't know if you agree with me. We don't have to have a conversation about this now. We can save it for another day. I think Tyler Steen is significantly better than Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson. And I feel like Steen's name is thrown in with those 3. And I find it really weird. For a guy who's making his first year at right guard, yes, Mekhi Becton had highlight reel blocks, and yes, Tyler Steen doesn't have highlight reel blocks, but I think in pass protection, he's pretty damn solid, and as a run blocker, I think he is also perfectly fine. I think in the last month has been his best games as a run blocker as well. So I think when we talk about the offensive line in the offseason, again, pod for another day, I think maybe Steen's name has been thrown a little bit too harshly alongside people like Dickerson and Jurgens. I think Jurgens is the one that's the real one to watch. I know Dickerson's practice again this week. Yeah, any comebacks to that, and then we'll do defense and get out of here.
Yeah, I'll go a step further. The best offensive lineman for the Eagles this year has been Tyler Steen. Now, obviously, I'm factoring availability into that because Lane Johnson's been out and injured, and Lane Johnson, when he played, is clearly better. But Tyler Steen has been better than Cam Jurgens, who made the Pro Bowl, which is a complete joke. He is
awful.
He is like not so. But I was talking to my son. My son and I were talking about the Pro Bowl stuff, and I was like, Jalen Carter shouldn't have made the Pro Bowl. Like, he just shouldn't have. He's not been impactful this year. But, like, Cam Jurgens has been actively bad. Like, Carter hasn't been bad. He's just not been as impactful. Jurgens has been bad, and he made the Pro Bowl. Yeah. But Tyler Steen has been better than Cam Jurgens. He's been better than Landon Dickerson. And I think he's been better than Jordan Mailata, who's been very disappointing this year. Yeah. So, Tyler Steen, and, you know, he doesn't get the same push in the run game that Mekhi Becton did, but I think he's been really solid this year, and I would bring him back personally. But
right. And on the defensive front,
Brett Eclipse says he's also really good at taking 1v6 on the field brawls.
Sorry, I'm going to now go over 30 minutes because I'm going to moan. What the hell are they asking Dan Quinn about for the Eagles going for 2? Like, just what they think they? I watched his interview and he's like, yeah, well, we'll get them in 2 weeks, and like, like, dude, it's analytics. Like, you go for 2, so you go at 3 possessions. Like, the Eagles didn't do it to like slam it down your throat. They were like, what? One of the weirdest questions I've ever seen. Like, as if the Eagles were rubbing it in. But anyway, just a really, really dumb question.
I feel like, I mean, I wouldn't have gone for 2 there. I thought that was kind of silly.
I mean, like, maybe, but if there's an argument you could argue, I don't think it was just rubbing it in. And also, even if they did rub it in, who the hell cares? Stop them then. Stop moaning. Like, it's football. Right. Let's.
Yeah. I mean, you don't complain about it as the other coach, but
no, I thought it was
kind of silly.
Absolutely laughable. Right. Defensively, I've got a couple of things I wanted to hit on very quickly. I will start by saying that when what's his face came in. Josh Johnson, who's not played in God knows how long and suddenly saw what modern defenses do, he may have had a heart attack because he was not very good. So I think it's very, very worth saying that how much you want to read into this game because of how bad Washington are on offense is fair enough. But there's a couple of things that really stood out to me. I wanted to, in fact, if you got my film, Fred, haven't you, Shane? Can you just play one I wanted to talk about for literally 20 seconds? A lot of talk about like why read option doesn't work the same way and why the Eagles shotgun run game isn't the same thing. Nolan Smith here is the classic modern day edge defender. If you want to see a reason why you can't do this the same way you used to, 5 years ago, the edge would just crash down and the QB would keep it, or the edge would stand there staring at the quarterback. This is how modern day edge defenders are taught to play it. And I think the good ones are so good at this. They're really, really good at it. So I wanted to mention that as a random schematic point about why the run game isn't as shotgun heavy anymore, seeing as we've been talking a little bit about schematic stuff of under center of late. And then I wanted to hit on two things. I'll do one and then I'll let you talk and then I'll come back on my final one. Three things, but I'll do my first one. Communication.
Johnny's like 10 minutes. One thing, two thing, three things.
Now I can do it. I can do it quickly. Communication in the secondary in this game was so good. I wanted to show play 3 of my film, Fred, because it's my favourite one. Just because we talk about how, if you look pre-snap, just pause it for a second. When we talk about how intricate Fangio's defense is, and I always talk about, and it's why I wouldn't be opposed to Marcus Epps keeping the job for the playoffs. I don't know. He's not as good as Makuba. It's all about where you are, and it's all about how you like read things out. So when you look pre-snap, they're showing possibly a 2 high, possibly a fire zone, 5, and it ends up being a very standard 4-man rush. They end up rotating to like a cover 3 match. And if you just pause it, so play like another 2 seconds and then pause it. So what I love about this is, pause it here. If you look at Zach Bourne, he doesn't even look behind him. Not many teams would have the guts just to let a crossing route run straight past you without moving. Zach Bourne just leaves him. He knows there is going to be a safety coming across the field because he knows it's trips, and he knows that Reed Blankenship is going to carry it. Bourne doesn't even look. Doesn't look behind himself. If Reed Blankenship reads this wrong, Shane, like Reed Blankenship's, I don't know, middle field safety or far above Quinion Mitchell or coming crashing down, it's the world's easiest touchdown you've ever seen. The guy just runs a crossing route into the middle of nowhere. Bourne does not even look behind him. The other thing I love is look at Quinion Mitchell here. So whatever term you want to call, shove or push, whatever some Fangio guys will probably tell me in the chat. Quinion Mitchell doesn't run with a tight end because he knows Bourne is there. Therefore, Quinion can jump into the window of the crossing route as well and double up. It's just so good communication-wise, and everything they do here is done on the fly because depending on the routes they run, you have to immediately change what you do. So Quinion looks completely different if the guy runs a vertical against him. And there was a couple of reps in this game. This is just one, but I meant just in general, where communication is so good. And I think Fangio, as good as anything, must be a really good teacher. It's not just about the plays he calls, it's about how he teaches it because they have an answer for everything. And honestly, when it's 3rd and long, and their secondary communicates as well as this, it's almost impossible to get 3 receivers. The way you'll beat it will be a scramble or an elite throw and catch or just winning contested ball. Because when they communicate this well, there's barely anyone open. So that was my longest point today. I've got 2 very quick ones, and I promise very quick ones. I will just very quickly respond to Brett Eclipse about Jahar Campbell. I thought he was totally fine, and I think the Eagles really want to consider getting him in on passing downs. Because I think he's better than Kobe Dean in coverage. So there you go.
Yeah, which is kind of what we've been saying for a while. But
anything you wanted to hit? Because you might hit some of my points as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out 2 players.
It might be the same 2 that I'm going to shout out. Yeah.
Yeah, Quinion Mitchell and Jordan Davis. So
bang, bang.
Take Mitchell first, and I've got a couple of clips here from Quinion Mitchell. But
do it. I actually don't need to show any clips of Davis. I've tweeted them out there. People can go and see them.
Yeah, I don't think
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kan du norsk?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Spotify. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Quinyon Mitchell's the best cornerback in the NFL. Like, you can argue Patrick Surtain.
He might be as well. I don't watch everyone else, but I remember scouting the Broncos and watching Surtain, and I was like, he's good. A.J. Brown, have a little bit of success. No one's having success against Quinyon.
Yeah, but just watch him at the bottom of the screen here. Look, he has outside leverage off coverage against Deebo Samuel, who was Deebo's a smidge on the washed side now, but he's still a really athletic player. Watch his make, and sure, the throw comes late, and if it comes earlier, he's probably going to catch it. But watch his closing speed to track this down through traffic and makes a play at the catch point. That is unbelievable closing speed by Quinyon Mitchell. And again, I'll just roll it again, off coverage. That is the hardest draw you can have. It's to cover a shallow route from off coverage, outside leverage, all the way across the field. And he was just so good in this game. Here he is again at the bottom of the screen. Just runs the mesh route that's Terry McLaurin this time. So we're not talking about Deebo Samuel. This is a pick play designed to get their best receiver open. And Quinyon Mitchell just runs the route for him. Just unbelievable coverage. And then the last one I was going to show, this one's just kind of absurd too. He's in press coverage at the top of the screen on McLaurin, and they motion another guy over there, which bumps him into off coverage, and watch him click and close downhill on this hitch route. Just breaks it up. Just unbelievable football player.
If he had 6 interceptions, they talk about him in the top 10 players in the NFL.
Yeah,
the coverage is that good.
He still has 0 regular season interceptions in his NFL career.
It is annoying, but there's not much you can do. And I said this in the BGN article this week. I've been watching the Eagles properly for 10 years in terms of writing about them, not at the level I do now in terms of for work, but casually been watching All-22 for 10 years. I've seen Darius Slay, seen other quarterbacks for the Eagles that are supposed to be really good. He's the best.
Yeah,
best season I've ever seen. He is the best of the best. I've not seen a season like it. I think Kempski had something this week where he's given up less than 10 yards in 8 games this year.
Yeah,
he's
unbelievable.
I don't need to show any Jordan Davis plays because people have seen him before. I would just say he looks really, really good. And I've been a skeptic of Davis his whole career, and hopefully people know this about me by now, but I will change my opinion based on what the film shows me. And I have been very skeptical of his entire career. I am not anymore. I would pay him if they could. I would extend him. I think he is vital for this defense. And yeah, he is really, really playing well. I know tackles can be a bit of a rubbish stat or whatever, and I sort of get that. But this is PFF's numbers. He's obviously played more snaps this year, so keep that into consideration. But 45 tackles this year. Previous highest was 27. And he only played 50 snaps more than that year. And I know it's just tackle stats and whatever, but when you're around the ball, 37 stops, previous best was 24. And the pressure numbers are better, obviously. I really, 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 really good.
Yeah, I think I forget what the stat was, but I think he leads all interior defensive linemen and defensive stops this year from Next Gen Stats or something like that.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I shouted it out. So the player spotlight this week was Jordan Davis. So I watched the whole game and talked through it. It was like a 28-minute video. So our Patreon guys can check that one out. If you're not in Patreon, come grab a free 1-week trial. You can check that out too. Literally just watched every snap of his from the end zone view and talked about it. And I went into some of his pass rushing stuff too, and what I do and don't expect there, and how my view of him has changed over the years. But just phenomenal in run defense. 20
on run defense snaps this year run defense snaps, not total snaps, 20th. He has got the most tackles by 6, also the most assisted tackles, and has the most stops by 4. So there you go. Elite. Yeah, really, 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 really good. And if you look at like average depth of tackle as well, it's also very strong, like top 25, which when you've made that many tackles, you also wouldn't expect to see that. Right, I think, honestly, we said we'd run through it this week, and I appreciate it's a quicker show, everyone, but it is Christmas Eve and things to be done. I think that's sort of it for me on the defense. Anything you finally wanted to shout out?
I'm gonna, when you were talking about Quinyon Mitchell, yeah, it's the best cornerback season that I've ever watched. And I mean, I'm not grinding the All-22 of Patrick Surtain weekly. So, you know, I'm not, but just from watching Eagles stuff, it's so dominant. And if you told me right now the Eagles can only pay Jalen Carter or Quinyon Mitchell, I pay Quinyon Mitchell so fast, it's not even funny.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. And that goes against the way I normally philosophically build teams as well. I've always been a pass rush over cornerback guy, but I'm with you now. I'm with you.
And the Eagles are going to have an interesting decision with Jordan Davis.
A lot of their defenders. You can't really, I don't see how you keep Quinyon, Cooper, Davis, Carter, Ajomo. I mean, that's why someone like Dean will go. I just don't see it.
Would you, if you had to choose between keeping Carter or keeping Davis and Ojomo?
If I could take both of them, I'd keep both of them.
Yeah, same.
But man, Carter will go somewhere else and be the best player in the league. And you'll look at it and go, oh, we did the Cowboys. We got rid of Micah Parsons. And he was the best player in the NFL because he's the only one that's that talented.
I do have some concerns about him.
Yes,
just
off-field.
Maturity, behaviorally wise, that makes me hesitant, at least just a little bit. But that's a discussion for another day, another pod. And fortunately, the Eagles still have plenty of time to figure that out. But yeah, they have knocked it out of the park at drafting defensively. And honestly, they're going to end up paying a lot of those guys, and Howie's going to have to go on a heater on the offensive side of the ball drafting, I think, moving forward.
Yeah. Right, before we get out of here, just very quickly, I will have a Bills preview up for Patreon on Saturday, and seeing as it's Christmas, I will release it to all members. So if you want to check something out, if you're a $3, $5, or a free member, and you want to see what the preview videos might look like before the playoffs, hopefully it will convince you to hang around and join. So I'll be releasing that on Saturday. Normally it's out earlier, but I will probably lose my wife and child if I record on Christmas or Boxing Day. So it will be out on the 27th.
All right. So there you have it, guys. Again, like Jonny said, quickest show we've ever done. It'll never happen again, probably, except for maybe next week when Jonny maybe has to go solo. But we'll talk about that then. We certainly appreciate all of your guys' support throughout the years, following us from the BGN radio feed to the Eagles Pinpool Network feed. Those of you that are in the Patreon as well, you guys enable us to do all of this stuff that we love to do, so we really appreciate it. I hope you guys all have a Merry Christmas. May your stockings be filled with lots of cool Eagles gear, and drop pictures of it in our Discord, because I need ideas. I always need ideas for what all my Eagles stuff. I crowdsource that. So anyways, I hope you guys have safe travel and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we will catch you in whatever form this show takes next week. So till then, Merry Christmas and go Birds.